Everyone. Now I'm live on Facebook as well as Instagram. And so if you see me looking away from the camera and trying to find myself, that's where I am. I'm on both worlds. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Giovanna. I'm a dating and relationship coach. And ultimately what that boils down to is I teach women how to love and value themselves enough to find the love that they're really craving and wanting. And I do that in lots of different ways. And this 4-week masterclass that I'm about to host is going to be dedicated to releasing and resetting. So we're coming towards the end of the year. One of the primary things I do to help my clients, let's see, we blocked the camera here, to block my clients or to help my clients unblock rather themselves is to go through forgiveness and releasing exercises. And these are probably the most powerful things that you could do to actually open yourself up and invite new love into your life and have that relationship that you want to have. Now, this works whether you're in a relationship right now or you're not in a relationship. Maybe you just like, I'm done. I don't even want to be in a relationship right now. That's okay. This will still work for you because ultimately letting go and creating that space of opening with forgiveness is not for the other person, right? It's for you. And you've probably all heard that when you create forgiveness, when you forgive someone for something, it releases you, not them. Okay. And that's kind of a hard concept to get your brain around when sometimes we feel like holding a grudge or holding on to something is kind of punishing the other person. Like sometimes we have this misperception that that's actually a punishment for them, or sometimes we don't let ourselves off the hook, right? We don't let go and forgive ourselves for our past mistakes because we're trying to avoid making them another time. And so we think if I hang on to that and if I really remember that and I hold myself accountable, right? Then I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And all that does is it just creates knots of energy and it really binds us up. And what it does is it creates closure. And so when we think we're out there and we're putting ourselves out there dating and we're like, well, I'm just not finding anyone, or there's just no good people out there and they're all taken and whatever else, we come up with, we sometimes have these invisible blocks that we ourselves are creating because we haven't let go of the past. We haven't forgiven ourselves. We haven't forgiven somebody else. And this 4-week masterclass is dedicated for that, right? So what we're going to do over the next 4 weeks is a series of exercises. One primary exercise called cord cutting that I'm going to guide you through. And we are going to set the intention each week together, because doing this on your own, by the way, daily is recommended. But when you do it with a group of people or when you do it together collectively, you actually really create a very powerful, energetic space. And that's why I love working with groups of women, right? My group program is sometimes so much more powerful than my one-on-one work with my clients because they're all there together supporting themselves, right? And supporting each other. And that's what my hope is for the next 4 weeks. So if you are someone who is looking for love and maybe you're doing it in all the wrong places, maybe you're doing it in all the right places, but you're just not finding success, and you're wanting 2022 to be your year where you find that person, where you can find that happiness and fulfillment in a healthy, safe love, right? Not in the past dynamics that you've had, a brand new, safe, amazing love, then this is the masterclass for you because we're going to work on releasing all the blocks and everything that's holding you up. So as I said before, back to my Facebook people, Instagram, you're getting a sneak peek at this today, but if you're on Instagram and you're watching this and you're like, I want more, I want to participate in the full 4 weeks, then you got to go over to the link in my bio and you got to click on the free Facebook group because the rest of the next few weeks are going to be in the free Facebook group. That's where I'll be doing, personal coaching for people that are live on the call. For those of you that come live on the next few calls, I may even pull a card or two for you. I am not a card reader professionally, but if you know me and you're here or you're a past client of mine, you know that I love oracle cards and I love the tarot. It's probably because I love the work of Carl Jung and I love working with archetypes because I think archetypes are a powerful way to create change for my clients and for myself. And so because I like that, I love the archetypal view of the tarot cards. But I'm not a professional tarot reader, so please don't come if you're looking for a reading. That's not what I'm going to do. But I love using oracle cards because they're a way for us to connect to something bigger than ourselves without necessarily having to sit in meditation for hours and hours and hours, right? Like I believe that you can sort of sit and get quiet and still, and you can choose something for yourself that is divinely brought to you in the form of a message, right? And something that you need to hear. So we're going to do that throughout the way. At the last class, right? So the last master class, I'm going to walk you guys all through my New Year's Eve ritual. And this is a very, very powerful ritual for letting go of this year, letting go what doesn't serve you, and ultimately creating what you want for the next year, 2022. So that's going to be on the last class. So again, for Instagram, this was a sneak preview for you. If this sounds exciting for you, if you have someone or something like a heavy emotion or a grudge or something that you think is preventing you from moving forward in love and relationships, and you're ready to let it go, then click on the link on the bio, join us live in the Facebook group, which is where we're going right now. Thanks, guys. Okay. All right. Facebook people, thanks for hearing me out on that. So you've got the rundown, right? You know what's going to be happening over the next 4 weeks. So we're going to go through a cord cutting exercise together. I'm going to walk you through it. It's going to be something, listen, if you want to make this really, really powerful, don't just show up here at 3 o'clock on Thursdays and do it once. Take this away today and lather, rinse, repeat, right? Do it in the morning, do it in the evening, do it as often as it takes. Now, letting go sometimes can feel like we're letting go of our power, right? It's like if I forgive that person, or if I put that in my past, or if I try and disconnect from that person or thing, I'm losing something, right? It can sometimes feel like it's a loss. And I want to invite you to consider that it's not a loss. In fact, what you're doing is you are creating more power. So what do I mean by that? When you're holding on to something, it has power over you. In other words, you're taking up space, you're taking up bandwidth, holding on to this person, this place, this thing, this event, this situation, a tough emotion. Often it has to do with us, right? Often we have to release ourselves from something in the past that we've decided, especially if you're someone who has made mistakes, right? If you've made mistakes in the past with your relationships, if you've, quote unquote, chosen the wrong partner, right? And you've been hurt, or you've gone through a really difficult breakup, or somebody has really done you wrong, right? Maybe they've ghosted you, or they've disrespected you, or they cheated on you, or something like that. It's really, really hard to let yourself and that person off the hook. We think we're giving something up. But again, I want to invite you to consider that in the next 4 weeks, what you're going to be doing, the work you're going to be doing here, is actually going to be taking your power back. You are going to feel free, released, empowered, and ready to step into the new year with a better perspective, a sense of self that maybe you had lost before, right? Hanging on to that stuff. And really, by the time we do the last class, you're going to create a powerful intention for your new year. Now, I know, because I do this New Year's Eve ritual every year, I know the power of it. I know how powerful it could be to actually take the time at the end of the year to review, to reject what you don't want anymore, and to actually recreate the new, right? So you're going to create what it is that you want for the new year. Now, is it magical? Are you going to have exactly everything you put in your list? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, right? The point of these exercises over the next few weeks is this powerful intention, right? When we do the cord cutting, which I'm going to walk you through in a few minutes, when we do that, it's not about magical thinking. It's not about giving up your power to something else to magically come and release this. It's about you and your powerful, powerful intention saying to the universe, God, spirit, whoever you want it to be, hey, listen, I can't do this on my own. I need your help. I'm ready to let this go. I don't know how, but I'm ready. And that willingness, right? If any of you know me from the past, or you're working with me now, you know that I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. And one of my favorite lines in A Course in Miracles is that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but spirit needs only the slightest invitation. Only the slightest invitation. And when you create that invitation, spirit can rush in and actually assist you. Where we go wrong is we're like, that's okay. I got this. I could do this myself. And you get into your head about it and you try and figure it out on your own. And oftentimes, when it comes to forgiveness or letting go of the past, especially letting go of someone, it's really hard to do that on our own, right? Because when you connect with someone, and depending on how healthy or unhealthy that attachment was, oftentimes what's set up is an addictive energy. And that addiction to that other person is just as powerful as an addiction to heroin, right? Depending on what transpired in your relating. So I want to invite you again to make a commitment right now to set the intention that you are going to take your power back over the next 4 weeks from the past, from whoever this person is, from whatever the situation is. Maybe it's from yourself. Like I said, like maybe it was you that you're beating yourself up for, like, why did I go for that person? And why did I spend so much time? And, if you're anything like me, you've stayed in relationships way past their expiration date. You've dated the wrong guys. You have, put up with bad behavior, and you've settled for way, way, way less than what you deserve. And part of that is just because sometimes we don't know what healthy looks like. If we haven't had that modeled for us, it's really, really hard to try and navigate it on your own. Big part of my job with my clients is reteaching them what healthy looks like, how to set boundaries, how to honor yourself, how to not lose yourself or your identity in a relationship, how to not settle for less, how to identify red flags from yellow flags to green flags, all of these things. Like, we didn't have a manual. And P.S., I didn't write a manual either, and I didn't get one. I had to go through all of this and really write it for myself, right? I had to figure this out on my own. And guess what? I'm still figuring it out, and I still have my own coach, etc., because this is a work in progress. If relationships were that easy, I think the world would just be a fundamentally better place, right? But here we are, and we're learning together. And this is going to be a powerful 4 weeks. So without further ado, because I want to make these as bite-sized and consumable as possible, we're going to try and keep it at 30 minutes every week or less, right? I want to start going through the cord cutting exercise with you. So if you are watching this right now and you are ready, here's what I want you to do. Grab a pen and a piece of paper. I'll wait a second. You can go do that. I'm going to take a sip of water while you do that. Perfect. So you have your pen, you have your paper. We're going to take a minute, and I'll time it out. We're going to take a minute to set up what it is that we're releasing. In other words, write down, I release, and then we're going to make a small list. Now, we're not going to do the full list today. We're going to pick the biggest one off that list today. But I want you to have this because it might be that you work on this in the following weeks. It might be that you work on these individually on your own, but it's nice to have that list. So I am choosing to release, actually, is the sentence stem. I am choosing to release, right? ... And then just point form, Fred, Bob, being angry at myself for dating that loser, like whatever it is, like make a list. I'll give you a minute starting now, and we'll just put a timer there. And you can pause this video as well and do this if you're not doing it live. And if you need more time, of course, when you're watching the replay, first of all, if you're watching the replay, let me know you're watching the replay by giving me a hashtag replay in the comments. And if you are watching it live right now, take the minute. And again, on the replay, you can pause the video and take as long as you like. And we'll keep going with that. Great. So we're at a minute. So whatever you wrote down there, I want you to circle the biggest one, right? Like the biggest culprit. And maybe it is an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or friend or something to do with your parents or a boss, right? Something that is taking up bandwidth, right? It's taking up power and energy from you. And every time and here's a way to identify this, by the way. Sometimes people are like, oh no, I'm fine. I just cut that person off, but I am fine now. Well, here's the real tester, because you can literally cut somebody off in real life and say like, oh, forget it, I just cut them off. But if you still think about that person, or they're coming to your mind right now and you're like, ooh, and you're just like, you still have a charge, guess what? You didn't let it go. You may have cut them off physically. They may physically not be in your life right now, but you haven't let it go. And so if one of these people on the list that you wrote down has that charge and it's a big charge, I'm talking 0 like to 10, it's a 10, then that's the person we want to work with, okay? And maybe I would say stick with that person for the next 4 weeks because it'll really help you out. So whoever that person is for you, if you want to write it in the comments, you don't need to give me details. You can if you want, but if you want to write in the comments, you just write Bob, Doug, Michael, Fred, whatever, just where you write a name. If you want to just set that intention in the comments, that's great. It's even more powerful. We'll all hold that, right, together. And hold those names and cut them together. When I walk my clients through this, especially if it's a one-on-one client, I hear what their visual is and I hold it for them and I'm cutting while they're cutting. And I think that just makes it really powerful. So you got the name, fantastic, great. Now, a little bit of what's it called? A disclaimer, right? Before we do this, because sometimes when you're doing this with someone, especially if it's someone who's kind of sort of still in your life, they might feel it. Now you might be saying, well, how the hell would they feel me setting an intention and doing this? Well, because energy is really powerful. And when you have energetic ties to someone, right? Just picture these invisible lines or cords that run from you to that person and from that person to you. When you start intentionally severing those, okay, that person can feel it. And they may reach out to you. They may lash out some way. They may act out. They may write you a letter or send you a text spontaneously. And if this is someone that you have intended to keep your distance from, don't take this as a sign to reconnect with them, okay? And I say that as a disclaimer because I work, again, a lot with women who are really overcoming this intense pull to another person. And it's an often toxic or addictive pull. And part of this cord cutting intention is to further empower them to separate. So don't take that reaching out as necessarily, oh, it's a sign, like I should connect with them again. That's them potentially feeling that you're cutting these cords. Okay, so that's disclaimer number one. Disclaimer number two is, and by the way, if you're working on someone that's like kind of really far distant, that's probably not going to happen. I see that happening with people that are just more kind of in and out of your life, like those people that are still dangling kind of in the periphery. The second disclaimer is really, it's not really a disclaimer at all. It's just an awareness, right? Because a lot of times when I introduce this to my clients, they get really freaked out, right? Because sometimes we're doing it like on their husband or their current boyfriend. And this isn't about cutting the person off and out of your life, right? This is about severing toxic or negative attachments. Now, you could do this in a healthy relationship with your partner on the daily, because all it will do is it'll cut off any residue of resentments or things you're holding on to, or maybe you've developed a little bit of codependency in the relationship and you're like, ugh, I don't really like that. I don't like the way that feels. I don't want that. And so you do this intentional cutting of that codependency cord. This cord cutting does not necessarily mean that you're going to get this person out of your life, right? Like I said, I've done this with people with their relationship, and sometimes in a really healthy relationship, where I'm supporting the person. It's still a good idea to do this, right? It doesn't tell the person to go away, right? It says you're not that powerful. You're powerful, but you're not that powerful, right? So it doesn't excavate them from your life. What it does is it cleans up the energy between the two of you. Now, if this is someone who's meant to stay in your life, guess what? They're going to stay in your life. And if it's someone who's not, then they may not, right? Again, this isn't really about magical thinking. It's about the power of your intention. We do the visualization, we go through the steps as a way for your brain and your heart together to register this intention, right? Once you intend something, a very powerful thing starts to happen whereby you can release energy that you didn't even know was being tied up, okay? So this is about setting intention, and the intention is the powerful thing. So you can do this exercise whether you believe in God or spirit or you're an atheist. It doesn't even actually matter, because it's just about the power of your own intention, which exists regardless of what you believe. So that said, and those disclaimers done, let's get into it. So you've circled the person who you're doing. Maybe it's you, right? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's an emotion. Maybe it's like I want to release like, resentments and stuff like that. That's okay too. If you did write an emotion that you're holding on to, I would challenge you to distill it a little more into who it's against, right? Because there's usually an object to that. Like it could be a past trauma, again, a parent, someone like that. Try and find the person that it's connected to. Okay, so we're going to close our eyes. I'm going to do this with you. Now, if you're watching this in the replay, let us know what you came up with. Type it in the comments. Let us know how this was for you. As soon as we're done, I'm going to ask for that same feedback for the people that are watching. If you're in the replay, again, hashtag replay, let me know what came up for you. And then what we'll do in the subsequent sessions is we can get into it a little more. I can coach some of you if you want live right here, or just through the comment section. And then we will recreate something new and amazing in the subsequent calls. Okay, let's dive into it. So get comfortable. Try and sit up tall, right? So we don't want to slouch down because we want to sit with as much power and intention that we're going to bring to this exercise. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and in again through your nose and out through your mouth. And one more time, big inhale through your nose, fill your belly, and out through your mouth. So I want you now to, in your mind's eye, keeping your eyes closed the whole time. In your mind's eye, I want you to pull up almost like a movie screen right in front of you. Now, the movie screen technique works for most people. If you have a hard time visualizing the movie screen in front of you, you might actually just use yourself where you're sitting or standing at the moment and imagine that person in front of you. For me, I find this difficult, so I do the movie screen and make it almost like it's something I'm watching as opposed to something I'm living in the moment. Totally up to you. However you visualize it is fine. So using the movie screen example, I want you to see yourself in your energy form, and I want you to see that person on that screen who is you. And maybe you're wearing the same clothes you're wearing today. It doesn't matter. Okay. I want you to trust that however this shows up for you is right. There's no right and wrong here. There's no like, did I do this right? And is whatever shows up for you. So on that movie screen, you're going to be standing there, and I want you to call up that person whose cords you want to cut. Okay, so maybe it's an ex-boyfriend, it's a parent, a sibling, whoever that might be. And I want you to call them up. So now these two people are standing facing each other on this movie screen. Now, once you have that, I want you to ask that you be shown what the negative or heavy or toxic cords are between you that need to be cut. And I say that because sometimes we have beautiful, wonderful, healthy light cords between us that are wonderful. We don't want to cut those. So we just want to invite the negative ones to show up. And you will start to see them in your mind's eye. And sometimes, you'll see it as a string that comes from your heart to the other person's heart. You might see it as a thick, cable. I had a client earlier today see it as a tree trunk. It was really thick for her. Other people see it as maybe a knot. Like you will see how the two of you are connected energetically. It will show up for you in this visual. Now, once you see that, just be aware, you don't have to analyze where it is, but just be aware. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I have a cord that runs from my heart to their groin, or from their, abdomen to my groin, or their heart to my solar plexus. It doesn't actually matter, right? It could be head to head. It doesn't matter. But through the core of your body, you'll have several cords attached, and it's not important where or why they're there, but it's just important to see them. Now at this point, because I said we do not do this alone, if we could do this on our own, we would have done it by now, right? We have to invite in a higher power. Now, whether you believe in God or spirit or universe, it doesn't actually matter here. If you don't, you just call in a superhero. It doesn't actually matter because again, this is not about magical thinking. It's about setting a powerful intention, and we know the power of intention, regardless of your religious or spiritual beliefs. Okay, so if you're watching and you have no affiliation to any of this stuff, call in Iron Man, Wonder Woman. It doesn't matter. But if you are of a spiritual affiliation or belief, I love to use the Archangel Michael. I have an affinity to the angels, and I love the Archangel Michael for this. I had a client earlier this week. She called in Shiva, right? Because Shiva has a big trident. The Archangel Michael has a sword. So whoever that third party person is that's going to help you with this, again, in your intention, I want you to invite them in right now and see them coming into this movie screen. See them walking onto the screen. And they're going to walk on and they're going to observe. They're going to look at you and they're going to look at the other person and they're going to observe the energy between you. And they are going to start to cut. Now you're inviting them to do this. You're asking for their help and you're surrendering to their strength in this. Now in my case, again, I use the Archangel Michael. I see that big, powerful gold sword severing ever so gently through these cords one by one. And there's no pain here for either of you. But the Archangel Michael with his sword is severing each one of those cords. It might happen quickly, it might happen slowly, severing all the way down. Now, if you held a string up and your friend held a string up in front of you and somebody cut it down the middle, you'd have two dangly bits. Am I right? So once you've severed the cords and you are visualizing these dangly bits, see that those dangly bits that are your half of that cord, see that they're absorbing back into your body and see that they're absorbing back into the other person's body. And at this point, gratitude is really important. So I want you to, in some way, show gratitude, not only to this entity that's shown up as a third party, to thank them for helping you, but also to deliver the message to the other person, this, whatever I have taken from you, I take back, and whatever you have taken or I have taken from you, I give back to you. So you're taking back what's yours and you're giving back to that person what is not. Because the cord, again, is a two-way street. It's not just the other person sucking off of you. It's happening two ways, okay? And so once this is done, again, this is your visualization. This is your powerful intention. You can bow, you can hug. You will set this person free. You'll tell them that they're free to go and thank them for participating. You can do the same with your angel or whoever it is that showed up for you. And you can slowly take another deep breath in and release. So that can sometimes bring up a lot of emotion for people, especially if the person that you've called in, there's still a lot of connection with. And that's okay. Now, I brought you through this in kind of the fast form for this particular one, and we'll go through this again each week, and we might add some variations to it and change things up. But if you do this exercise every day, even twice a day, depending on how, hooked you are to this person, you will find that you will slowly start to unhook all the unhealthy hooks from this person, and you'll set yourself free. You'll set yourself free from this. And again, in subsequent classes, we're going to learn how to set yourself up to actually draw in what you want instead. Okay? So again, if you're watching this on the replay, let me know using hashtag replay. What did you get from this? I'd love to know what your insights were. Was this easy for you? Was this hard? Do you need help? Like, ask me questions so that I can, add that in for the following weeks. And if you're watching and this was useful to you and you know someone who might also benefit from this, please invite them along to the group. The replay is available only to group members. So I will look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, 3 p.m. Eastern in this group. And let me know how this was for you. We'll talk soon.